Welcome back to the Avon Tyres National Formula 4 Championship. The fourth meeting sees us skip across the pond to Ireland. We find ourselves here at Kirkistown where Niall Murray is on pole position. Not only that, he leads the championship, but it's this man, Matt Rangarido, who currently leads the Northern Ireland Formula 4 Championship. He's very familiar with this track and he could be a thorn in Niall's side this weekend. So let's see how this first race pans out. Here's Scott Woodwiss with race one.
Thank you, Anthony, and here is the cars lineup on Friday afternoon for race one of the weekend at Kirkistown. Here is the grid. Niall Murray and Luke Cooper on the front row of the grid from Hugo Bentley-Ellis and the returning Jordan Dempsey. Jamie Thorburn and Nico Gruber are on the third row ahead of Michael Eastwell and Carter Williams, with Joey Foster and Rory Smith rounding out the top 10. Matt Rangarido is only 11th alongside Neil McLennan, and then Jonathan Brown and Alan Davidson ahead of Sebastian Job and David MacArthur. Vincent Jay and Nicky Gibson who leads the rest of the Irish contingent, with Ashley McCullough, Ian McCullough and Jim Campbell completing the 21 car entry here this weekend. So the sun hangs low in the afternoon here at Kirkistown. It's a 21 car grid, Murray on the front row, but with Matt Rangarido and Neil McLennan further back than they'd like to be, watch for them from the start. Let's see what progress they can make as the 5-second board goes up. Watch for the lights at the top of the screen. Murray and Cooper on the front row of the grid. Let's see who gets the whole shot as we go racing in Northern Ireland. Good start from the first couple of rows from Nico Gruber as they charge down towards Debtor's Dip, the flat-out left-handed kink, and it's Cooper that leads. Cooper in the Swift Cooper chassis is in front. Up to second place now is Michael Eastwell challenging for the race lead, and for third place, it looks to me as if I think it's possibly down to Niall Murray. Out of Colonial, now through towards Fisherman's, up for the first time. Rest of the cars at the back of the field turning their way through. That's Carter Williams ahead of Rory Smith and Matt Rangarido. One car going off onto the grass and into the barriers, and that I think is Hugo Bentley-Ellis. So Hugo Bentley-Ellis brings the Kevin Mills Racing effort down to 2 cars after a few corners. There's Matt Rangarido charging up the inside into the entrance of the S's onto the back straight. Rest of the field makes its way through. A couple of the pre-90 cars with some of the local Irish drivers in the mix, and they charge down towards the hairpin. Cooper leads side by side for second. Here comes the up the inside Jamie Thorburn making a move on Niall Murray, which he does, up to third place, and behind them for 5th place it's Gruber versus, I think that possibly could be Jordan Dempsey. And there's Matt Rangarido. He's going wheel to wheel with Rory Smith as they head down the pit straight to end the first lap of competition. Through Debtor's Dip for the second time. Rest of the field goes streaming through as Eastwell darts out to take a look at the lead. Now side by side for third place. It's back around the outside. This time is Niall Murray. There is a clip of wheels. Little sideways for Murray, but he holds on to the position as Cooper now has to fend off a very feisty Jordan Dempsey. It's good to see Jordan back. He's been racing in China in the National Formula 4 Championship out in Asia. So good to see him back at the wheel of Formula 4 at one of his local circuits. Here is Niall Murray defending now from his key rival in the championship. That is Michael Eastwell, and behind him are 2 more of the Cliff Dempsey brigade. It's Nico Gruber ahead of Neil McLennan. So Cooper holds onto the line. Thorburn swarming this way and that to go down the outside of Jordan Dempsey. They're going to go side by side into the hairpin together. They try to go at it together, and it looks as though Thorburn has lost out not just 1 place but 2, because Murray goes through on the exits side by side. He's in the slipstream of Jordan Dempsey. We're only at the start of lap 3 and there's been plenty of action already. Here's the view for Luke Cooper. That's the view he wants ideally. A clear track in front of him and everybody else behind falling over each other for second place downwards. So through Colonial, little bite of curve as he heads up towards the right-hander at the top of the circuit, Fisherman's. Turning in, using all the track he wants and holding on to the line. Now the sprint down towards the S's. So Murray leads the train for second place. It's then Dempsey, Thorburn, and then Michael Eastwell. They turn into the S's, right, left, and then right again onto the back straight. And Nico Gruber is bringing his teammate, Neil McLennan, with him towards the leading pack. Down to the hairpin. Cooper holds the racing line, but Dempsey has to go defensive again as for the second time, Thorburn tries to go down the outside of the Irishman into the hairpin. They head out into the right-hander onto the pit straight, and he has made the move. Well, he's held onto the position for the time being. He can't get past for third place, and he's now coming under threat from Michael Eastwell. And Gruber and McLennan, as we mentioned, aren't too far away, and they will start to pounce if these guys scrap amongst each other too much. As up the inside goes Neil McLennan of his teammate Nico Gruber. Gruber a little wide on the exit through the middle of Colonial. I think McLennan just spooked him a little bit, didn't expect him to dive up the inside. Dempsey, meanwhile, is keeping their teammates, Jordan Dempsey, Jamie Thorburn at bay. and he's in the middle of a Kevin Mills Racing sandwich. I'm not quite sure that's where he nor Cliff Dempsey wants him to be. He wants him at the front, scoring as many championship points as possible in his bid for the title. And look at the scrap behind for 5th position. All over each other down towards the hairpin. Cooper still leads. It's now still second for Murray. Up the inside now for the 3rd time goes Jamie Thorburn and Jordan Dempsey. They come out of the hairpin together. Oh, there's contact! Around goes Thorburn. Dempsey's off with damage. Now, is that their race over, or can they rejoin? Well, they're both still moving. There's right-hand side pod damage to Dempsey. Thorburn meanders back onto the circuit, and it's all over each other now for 4th place downwards. Down the outside goes Matt Brown Garrido, and the white car in the middle, that is Alan Davidson. Now, he's a local driver. He's not scoring any points in the Club and Pre-90 cars, but he's one of the oldest chassis in the field, and he's ahead of some of the main Pro Class drivers. Look, there he is, number 61, behind Matt Brown Garrido. He's ahead of Foster and Williams and Rory Smith. There's Rory, number 45. What an extraordinary sequence. So now it's Cooper who leads for Murray, and then it looks to be as if it's 3rd place, and there's yellow flags out, and there's been a change for the lead, in fact. So it's all going on. Murray now leads, Cooper 2nd place, Eastwell 3rd, 4th place for Neil McLennan, then 5th it's now for... Oh, and there's more contact! And that was Alan Davidson just clipping the right rear of Matt Brown Garrido's car, reaching out in the cockpit to try and get the bodywork away. And now we have a chance to calm down a bit because the safety car has been deployed. Now, I think possibly somebody else may have been off around the circuit away from our sights on the cameras, but wow, what a first few laps that's been. Very fast and frantic. But it now leaves Niall Murray, who looks to have timed his move for the lead to absolute perfection. And he now finds himself at the head of the field with Cooper, the one trying to do the chasing. So 3rd place now, as we said, is Michael Eastwell. And incredibly, 4th position now is Alan Davidson. There's Jonathan Brown. He's another of the Cliff Dempsey team, the young Irishman in Neil McLennan's car from last year. It's virtually identical, still carrying the red Mazda Road to Indy livery, weaving from side to side. Just ahead of him is Rory Smith, and then one of the Don Harvin prepared cars. That's Carter Williams. Jonathan just getting stronger and stronger here. It's almost a home race for him because, of course, he's from the Republic of Ireland and we're here in Northern Ireland, so of course they are different. So the field weaves from side to side. Now, just looking in the mid-pack, I think we've got another car that's got some nose cone damage, and I think it's Joey Foster. Just keep an eye on the black car in the middle of the picture, in the middle of that top 10. I think Foster's got some nose cone. Yes, he has, look. Look at Foster's front end. The nose cone is sticking up vertically, so Alan Davidson's not the only one with nose cone troubles. There it is, and there's the damage. Now then, if that does not dislodge itself, he possibly may find himself with what they call the meatball flag, which is the black flag with the orange circle. That is to determine that you have a mechanical problem, whether it's a piece of bodywork or engine smoke or leaking oil or something along those lines. That is a danger to other drivers on the circuit, so you have to stop and remove it. Otherwise, if he doesn't, or if it doesn't fall off, he may get a black flag to be pulled into the pits for that. So we'll have to wait and see if he can possibly get rid of it. The rest of the field goes past the pit straight, and they follow the safety car down towards Colonial. So, the rest of the top 10. You can see that Foster's weaving especially hard to try and move the nose cone to get it loose, because he knows that if he can't dislodge it, he could potentially lose more important championship points. There he is, double Formula Ford Festival winner. Won the opening round of the season at Silverstone in tricky conditions. Much better weather here in Northern Ireland. Sun shining down this afternoon. But Foster a little bit frustrated. Now, there is Alan Davidson. He's a local to this circuit. He's local also in the Northern Formula Ford Championship, and he knows both the car and, of course, the circuit pretty much like the back of his hand. So that's the reason why he's up there. And there's the nose cone. Joe Foster has managed to dislodge the nose cone and get rid of it, so he shouldn't face a penalty. Now, it looks to me as if the lights are out on the safety car, and you can also see that the gap between it and Niall Murray is extending, as Niall Murray is vigorously weaving the car from side to side, throwing it around to keep the heat in the tyres. And safety car lights are indeed out, so that means Niall Murray, he now decides when to restart this race. He will have to decide when the right moment is to get the jump on everyone else and put his foot down. Just a little tactic, left and right. And looking to when he goes. Now he goes to the racing line. Now he's decided to restart the race. And the trick is to try and catch everyone whilst they're still sleeping, but I'm not sure he's caught Cooper and co napping here, because it looks as though the top 4 have gone together. Onto the pit straight, down past the start and finish line, green flag in the air, and we're back racing here in race number 1 of the weekend in the National Formula Fords at Kirkistown. Murray leads down towards Colonial, 2nd place for Cooper, 3rd for Eastwell giving chase. Then it's McLennan, and down the outside for 5th position goes Matt Round-Garrido on Alan Davidson. But despite the fact he's a guest driver, Alan Davidson will not give way. Down towards the right-hander at Fisherman's. So Davidson there in the older pre-90 chassis. Then it's Round-Garrido, then the nose coneless Ray chassis of Joey Foster, followed by Carter Williams, then Rory Smith. We head back out onto the back straight once again to see if they can make a move at the hairpin. Now Cooper's going defensive because he knows that Eastwell's to his outside line. Murray's trying to pull away initially as the 2nd place cars go side by side. McLennan watches on as Eastwell has to slot back in behind the Swift Cooper on the run out of the hairpin. There's Davidson, and Carter Williams has made a move on Joey Foster. So we're on board with Cooper again. Now that white shape in the middle of the pit shot in front, that is Niall Murray escaping up the road. So Cooper's got to try and close that gap back in now. The restart seems to have worked on the first complete lap after the green flag. Let's see if Cooper's got any pace here in this 2nd half of the race to reel the former national champion and points leader back in to try and retake the lead. Here is Sebastian Job in car number 13. He's the JMR scholarship winner. He's run by Andy Brickles' BM racing outfit. Just behind them, that is Jordan Dempsey and Jamie Thorburn. Now remember, those two came to blows at the hairpin several laps ago. And they are on the comeback trail up the order, because that contact at the hairpin put them right down the field, and they're trying to make up for lost time. See McLennan there just attacking Eastwell into the hairpin. And now that's Sebastian Job going side by side with Jonathan Brown. Brown tries to squeeze him out, and there's more tyre rubbing, but Job keeps his foot in. He goes wheel to wheel with the young Irishman, and they head down the pit straight together. They sprint towards the left-handed kink at Debtor's Dip. Top 4 go through the shots, then Davidson, then Williams, then Foster, then Smith, and Job has got in front of Jonathan Brown. Brown, meanwhile, has to defend from Jordan Dempsey, who dives up the inside and locks up to avoid contact into Colonial, but that hasn't worked because look at that. That's Jamie Thorburn squeezed up the inside and taken full advantage. So Jamie Thorburn sees the move that Dempsey tried to put on Brown, couldn't make it stick, had to back out, and as a result, it looks to me as if Thorburn had the momentum and he's back through another place. So, next target is his teammate. Even though these two drivers do share the same space of the garage, they won't let him through. Up the inside goes one of their teammates. That's Neil McLennan looking for 3rd place on Eastwell again as they come back into the hairpin, but still cannot make the move stick. Out of the hairpin they go. Bottom end of the top 10 battling as around the outside goes Jamie Thorburn. So Jonathan Brown does capitulate and lets his Scottish teammate through. Back on board with Cooper, still 2nd. Still chasing hard after Noel Murray into the right-hander of Colonial. It's only a 1.5 mile circuit here at Kirkistown, but it's such a simple layout, but it lends itself to superb racing. That's what we've had so far. Plenty of battles, plenty of overtaking. That's what Formula Ford is all about. Up towards the Jim Clark S's. Here now the fight continues to the bottom of the top 10. This time Jordan Dempsey looks to get the run on Jonathan Brown, but he has to tuck back in line because he wasn't far enough alongside to get through up at the S's. As again, look at this for 3rd place. Eastwell go to the inside line, defending from McLennan, who again is squirming under brakes to try and get the car stopped, which he does just about. Also Thorburn out of shape as Job tries to go back around the outside. You can see David MacArthur in the mix as well, as Thorburn has made it stick. So another place gained for Jamie Thorburn. And his next target is going to be Rory Smith up front in one of the BM racing cars. Down to Colonial. Here's the fight for 3rd again. Michael Eastwell against Neil McLennan. Then Alan Davidson, who is still in 5th position overall. Extraordinary effort from the local Northern Irishman. As they turn into Fisherman at the top of the circuit, over the curbs on the exit. Carter Williams is having a good run so far in 6th position. Up through the S's, they ride over the curbs as much. Really making the most of the suspension here on these Formula Fords. can take some punishment, especially over a circuit like this. Now, look at Eastwell again. For about the third time, McLennan has a look to make a move, but still, every single time McLennan looks for an avenue through, Eastwell has an answer and manages to put his car in all the right places at all the right times, and that's crucial. And what it's also doing is it's bringing Alan Davidson into the mix, and he's bringing Carter Williams with him as well. So it could be a 4-car scrap for third place, and potentially at the head of it, Alan Davidson, if he can make it, could get there. There he is, car 61, without the nose cone. By far one of the oldest cars in the field, but he's driving it as if age doesn't matter. And that's the beauty of Formula Ford. It doesn't really matter what age the chassis is. I mean, if a car's quick enough, it's engineered well, if the driver's quick enough, these cars all run the same Avon tyres and the same Ford Kent engines. It makes them virtually identical apart from the chassis and, of course, the individual driving skill. But it just means that a car that's 10, 20, 30 years old can compete with a modern day machine if it's driven and set up well enough. Leaders heading into the hairpin. I have to say Cooper's looking a little bit closer now to Niall Murray. There was a move there between Foster and Smith going on for position. I think Smith has held on but ahead of the Cornish Express, as Joey Foster's known by some. Flash past the pits, one after the other. Down towards Debtor's Dip. Out of it, back towards Colonial. Cooper definitely getting closer. McLennan is crawling all over the back of Michael Eastwell. And also Alan Davison. And also Carter Williams is there. Rory Smith is having to defend now from Foster. He wants that position back. That was for 6th place. Down to the S's there. Still, this quartet will not give way. Staying line astern up through the S's into the back straight. Well, he's not being allowed to get away here. He has got the lead. He's got a couple of seconds on Cooper, but it does seem to me as if in the second half of the race, Cooper's looked after his tyres and the car a little bit better, and he has got an ever so slight pace advantage. Out of the hairpin. Eastwell, McLennan, then Davison. And followed by Carter Williams, who's dropped back a little bit, and if he's not careful, he may fall into the clutches of the charging Smith and Foster, and indeed Jamie Thorburn, because he's caught both of them. So that's for position. That's for 7th, 8th and 9th. So back into the right-hander, and Davidson is looking very racy here because McLennan's not in the same attacking mood he was a couple of laps ago, and he could be under threat from the local driver here. Let's watch and see how this one plays out. There is Niall Murray, 2016 champion, driving as we know he can with a Formula Ford. Gliding his 1999 Van Diemen all the way through the S's and down towards the hairpin again. Onto the back straight once more. Well into the second half of the race, not long to go now. As Davidson in the background, he's going for 4th position, up the inside of Neil McLennan. Can he make it stick? There's Murray, there is Cooper. And on the exit of the corner, has he got through? It should be Eastwell in 3rd. Who is 4th as they come into shot? It's Davidson. Davidson has made it through. Incredible. So Neil McLennan has been disrupted and hoodwinked by Alan Davidson. Incredible stuff. Now McLennan will fight back. You won't appreciate that too much. Looks to the outside line, puts a wheel onto the grass and has to sit back for the time being. Now then, the question is, can Alan Davidson catch and pass Michael Eastwell for 3rd place? There's Alan, number 61. One of the Clubman pre-90 cars. He won't score points because he's purely a guest driver. But Neil McLennan is doing, well, you won't appreciate the fact that he's got a car that's not scoring points between him and a car that is in Michael Eastwell. But even so, Alan Davidson is racing hard and fast as only he knows how, and he's doing a superb job with the wheel of that car. Into the hairpin. Eastwell, then Davidson, then McLennan, side by side between Rory Smith and also Joey Foster in the mix with Jamie Thorburn, wide from Neil McLennan, possibly getting a little bit ragged after that overtake. Back on board with Cooper. You can tell that since we were last on board with him, that white shape of Niall Murray is getting a little bit closer as they turn into Colonial. Little twitch of oversteer. It's great to watch these cars glide through the corners here. It's almost like this circuit was made for Formula Ford. Turning into the right-hander at Fisherman's. Into the corner they go, and I have to say that not only has Neil McLennan lost time to Alan Davidson because he's not in shot, At the same time, Carter Williams in 6th place fancies a top 5 finish. Now then, if Neil McLennan has lost a little bit of pace, for reasons we don't know, Williams could fancy a shot at a top 5 position here if he can get through. And already you can see that McLennan's not comfortable. He has to defend. Sweeps to the inside line to put Williams off. Meanwhile, behind them, it's now side by side between Thorburn and Smith. That could play out a little bit nicely. Out of the hairpin. Carter Williams in one of his better showings so far in this first half of the season here in Formula Ford. His first season racing out of America, as it was side by side between Smith and Thorburn. So into Colonial for what I believe is the second to last time. And Murray with a very sort of elegant Cooper, just gliding that Swift Cooper chassis all the way through Colonial. Wonderful four-wheel drift. As he heads down towards the S's, he wants to take another victory. He's taken wins so far this season at Silverstone. He's also picked one up at Knock Hill, and also last time out at Brands Hatch. He'll have to add another circuit to his collection. He raced here before in Northern Irish Formula Fords, but I don't believe he's ever won a national championship race here, because they only debuted the cars at this circuit last year in the national championship. But he heads onto the pit straight, and he should receive the last lap board. There it is. So one more time around the 1.5 mile circuit for Niall Murray. And it's still Cooper from Eastwell and then from Alan Davidson. And the fight for 5th isn't done yet, because Neil McLennan is coming under serious pressure on this last lap from Carter Williams. So this could be a last minute change here. Leaders head their way up towards Fisherman's. And you have to say that Niall Murray, ever since he took the lead just before the safety car, he has driven a practically flawless race. Perfect restart, pulled away in the early stages. And while Cooper did initially start to claw him back in, it looks as though in the end, Cooper's just sat back to accept 2nd place, because as they head down the back straight for the last time, Niall Murray looks virtually unchallenged. He has a comfortable enough lead. Yeah, comfortable. It's not so much for McLaren in the background. He's under threat for Williams again as they come towards the hairpin. Side by side, but no challenge for this man. Niall Murray heads up to the checkered flag, and he kicks off his Northern Irish weekend in the best possible fashion. Murray wins race 1 at Kirkistown from Cooper 2nd and Eastwell 3rd. Alan Davidson incredibly picking up 4th overall, and McLennan just beats Carter Williams to 5th position. So confirmation of the result then: Murray, Cooper, Eastwell, Davidson and McLennan the top 5. From Williams, Jordan Dempsey and Jamie Thorburn, and Smith and Foster rounding out the top 10. An amazing first race at Kirkistown, 2 still to go, and we'll head off to race 2 very shortly.
Well, Niall, you showed your experience there. You waited for the moment to get past Luke, but what a race, well done.
Yeah, thanks. No, firstly, just want to thank the Team Dolan, Bernard, Sam, everyone, all my sponsors, Murray Motorsport, obviously. You know, OMP, P1 Digital, there's Fish Graphics, the list goes on. But yeah, everybody here helped me to get here and get the job done. So yeah, no, I'm delighted.
Would you say you're in championship winning form?
I'm not thinking about championship, just thinking about race wins.
Very humble. Well, congratulations, go and enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Luke, spoke to you before the race. You had it for a while, but 2nd place, still a bad result. Well done.
Yeah, I had a really good start and got into the lead, and Niall actually dropped back a bit, which gave me a bit of a buffer, but I didn't quite have the pace at the start. He homed in onto the back of me, and then I made a bit of a mistake which let him through. And then straight after the safety car, I made another little mistake and let Michael through, and that gave Niall a big gap out in front. And I was trying to plug away and get a little bit closer, but I wasn't quite able to get close enough to attack.
Well, we've got another race coming up. What can you do from there?
I'm going to hopefully try and make a few setup tweaks and take it a bit closer, and hopefully not make any mistakes this time.
Well, yeah, it's a complete contrast to Brands Hatch with the undulation there and the tight corners. It's a very fast track, this.
Yeah, very fast and flowing, so you've really got to keep your momentum up and carry the speed through the corners.
Well, for now, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you.
Michael, what a race. 3rd place overall. Fantastic for your championship. But you had Luke for a few laps.
Yeah, just first of all, I'd like to say massive thanks to the Kevin Mills racing team, my family, friends, for all the support. Yeah, it was a tough race. Initial stages I had to focus on from behind, managed to break the toe, and then was trying to focus on what was in front in the last few laps, and I think we were just eking away a little bit at the end, but it was tough. Once that gap was made, it was tough to keep knocking that gap down, but I think we made a good chunk at the end of the race, so it's positive going forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, you got involved in a bit of a scrap for 3rd place as well. There's freight train of Formula 4s behind you at one point.
There was a lot of action going on. There's a couple of incidents in front of me, and fortunately just managed to avoid the carnage. Kept my nose clean. Had a little bit of battle with Luke. He managed to get away. I made a mistake, and Luke managed to get away a little bit. And as I say, later in the race, managed to eke a little bit more. But yeah, he'd already got a decent way on me. But yeah, really good result for us and the team. And yeah, see how we go for the rest of the weekend.
Well, go and enjoy it. Well done.
Thank you very much.